The new Tundra's twin-turbo V6 has just been recalled. We're going to dive into that. Just a few years ago, there was so much pushback, and it's still happening now with the discontinuation of the V8. And it wasn't just Toyota fans lamenting the loss of the 5.7 liter or the 4.6 liter V8s. It was, and it's still going on throughout the industry. I just drove a Ram truck this past week, but it had an inline six turbo, and I kind of wish Toyota went the inline six turbo route instead of the V6 turbo route. I think there's less things to go wrong, and Toyota has an amazing history with turbocharged inline sixes with the 1JZ and the 2JZ engines. But, Mazda's decided to go inline six, and they don't even have trucks, or at least not in the United States. So what we're going to do is we're going to dive into this recall going on. And it's not just the Tundra. It's other vehicles in the Lexus and Toyota lineup that have this twin-turbo V6. So grab your snacks and drinks, buckle in, and let's get into it. Over the past couple of weeks, there's been more and more talk about twin-turbo V6 failures from Toyota. And honestly, I hear most about it from you guys, either messaging me on Instagram or on my Discord. By the way, go down to the description below and get the link to join the Discord if you're a Discord user to join the community here. But yeah, I can't avoid it any longer. And now that I have official information, I'm happy to talk about it a little bit more. So Toyota is conducting a safety recall involving certain model year 2022 to 2023 Toyota Tundra and Lexus LX. Well, it says conventional gas model only, but the engines are the same as the one as the hybrids. I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is only seemingly happening in North America, but it could keep going through other markets as well. The Tundra is largely sold in North America, but the Lexus LX is an international product. Approximately 102,000 Toyota and Lexus branded vehicles are involved in this recall in the United States. Now, when the new Tundra launched with its twin-turbo V6, yes, it had more power and torque than the outgoing V8. We had a nice 10-speed auto, which is great. But right off the bat, it was getting hit with turbo wastegate issues and failures. This is not the same problem. There's a possibility that certain machining debris may not have been cleared from the engine when it was produced. In the involved vehicles, this can lead to potential engine knocking, engine running rough, engine no start, and a loss of motive power. A loss of motive power while driving at higher speeds can increase the risk of a crash. So my thoughts initially go to, well, the Tundra is made in San Antonio, Texas, and those engines are made, I believe, in Texas as well. Correct me if I'm wrong. The Lexus LX's engines, the 600 twin-turbo V6, those are made in Japan. So you're telling me this machining debris is a production misstep that spans multiple production sites. So they may have overlooked an all-important step to clear this debris on the machines that are building these engines. Now, what's interesting is the Lexus LS 500 was the first model to debut this engine. Now, the LS's engine is actually a little bit different. I think it has different cooling, possibly different turbos as well. It is different. And that vehicle's not being affected in this recall. It's these truck engines that are specifically designed for more torque compared to the Lexus LS. The LS's engine, oh man, I gotta clear off the dust in my head. I think it's around 416 horsepower and 442 pound-feet of torque. And the Tundra's engine, for example, is 409 horsepower and 479 pound-feet of torque. So less peak horsepower, more torque available throughout the rev range with these truck-based twin-turbo V6s, or the V35A FTS is what they call it. Toyota is currently developing the remedy, so they don't even have a fix for this issue. Owners of involved vehicles will be notified by late July 2024. If the machining debris was not cleared from when the engine was produced, that means the engine could be faulty. And if it's a faulty engine, it's going to have to be replaced. And so Toyota's trying to find a way maybe to not have to replace the entire engine here. I just don't see any other way around it, but I'm also not a production site engineer or a mechanic or anything. But if you guys have more extensive background, which I'm sure a lot of you do when it comes to wrenching on engines, or at least the production of engines, go ahead and comment down below what a potential remedy could be. 102,000. I think this is the tip of the iceberg. We have the Lexus GX that uses a variation of this engine. I don't know if it's going to be affected with the new GX that just came out. Hopefully those issues were ironed out before the GX got into production. I really, really hope so anyways. I hope none of the hybrids are affected, but they might be. Just because they are not involved here doesn't mean they won't be involved in the future. I'm always keeping my eye out for recalls. I mean, faulty rear cameras. I mean, the Dakota airbag recalls never end seemingly. Always things being recalled and more faulty rear view cameras. Lincoln Aviators, as well as the Honda Ridgeline pickup truck. Faulty taillights on the Maverick. Like, those are all smaller things. Fuel pumps, yeah, if that goes out, you could be a sitting duck, right? Cybertruck acceleration. Like, there's the Prius, 211,000 Prius vehicles being recalled. I know it happened initially in Japan, but I didn't see that it also got recalled here over in the States for the door latch issues. So there's always recalls going on. And just because the initial batch is recalled doesn't mean there aren't going to be more recalls on the Tundra and the LX, potentially Sequoia. Sequoia is made in the same factory, but that is hybrid only. So if it's only affecting non-hybrids, then the Sequoia will be safe in theory. But it's just really, really strange to me that it's happening. It happened, the debris issue happened at two different assembly plants for twin turbo V6 for Toyota as I pull up the article. You know, the old mechanic's tale, I don't know, not wives' tale, but mechanic's tale of never buy a first production year or second production year vehicle because there's things to be ironed out. As we have, or at least I've experienced recently, engines that are so good in the inline six, they're smoother than V6s. They're more, I think they're simpler. They have better emissions, and you can get tons of power out of them with a smaller displacement. If we look at the B58 engine from BMW inline six, the new Hurricane inline six, I just drove in the new Ram. That thing has 540 horsepower. Now, I don't know if that's going to be reliable long term, but those engines are better than this twin turbo V6 engine, and that's not even counting the recall issues going on or the wastegate issues that have happened on the Tundra V6. So I just wish Toyota would have gone to an inline six. It provides V8 smoothness, sometimes even better smoothness than a V8, and just really, really nice power bands. And also you have better handling characteristics with center of weight with an inline six too. Now we know Toyota's developing new engines. I can actually have the files pulled up right now. Toyota's developing new engines here. This was just announced with Subaru and Mazda. This is a 4-cylinder. There's no mention of a 6-cylinder inline six, no mention of any 8 cylinders. My theory, though, as there's been spy shots of the Lexus LFR supercar going around, we know that has a V8, and it's been rumored to be 4-liter. This engine we're looking at here right now is a 2-liter, capable of around 400 horsepower in the high output versions. They could slap two of these engines together in a V8 configuration, put that in the LFR. But man, it would have been nice to have this as an option at some point in time with the Tundra. No one needs that much horsepower in a Tundra, but yeah, I know a lot of you guys don't want a new Tundra or new Sequoia because of the complication that we have going on. But I just wish that we had a better engine from Toyota. I mean, when the Lexus LS switched over to the twin turbo V6 from the V8, it idled rough. And the engine still kind of idles rough unless you get the hybrid, and it kind of fixes that situation, which turns the engine off. This turbocharged V6 just doesn't have that same character, smoothness, and refinement, not even close to the same refinement as the old V8s, and apparently nor the reliability as we're getting recalls on it. But could it be as reliable in the future once they iron all these production issues out, once they get better parts that don't have failing wastegates, things like that? Yes, that it's a possibility. But this is just very interesting because it's proving so many people right about the simplicity and the perfection of what is a naturally aspirated V8. And that's what the Tundra debuted on, with the 4.7 liter, I think, or 4.6 liter. And then we got the 5.7 liter. I wouldn't say it's completely bulletproof, because I remember working for Lexus and seeing a blown 5.7 liter in the Lexus LX. I don't know if that was a manufacturer defect or due to the owner not ever changing the oil. I don't know, but like it just does. It's not like an AK-47, for example. It'll just run no matter what. Their V8s are arguably some of the most reliable engines of all time. Look at the Lexus and Toyota's first V8 that I'm aware of, the 1UZ, right? And the LS 400. And then they have the 2UZ, which was the 4.7 liter that we saw on, I think, maybe first gen Tundras, as well as the Lexus LXs, and even the GX 470. There was the 3UZ, which was in the LS 430. Don't know if we saw that in much else. I mean, the GS had it for a little bit, but that was very small volume. And then they went to the big V8, the 5.7 liter, and not a lot of issues I've heard from it. And then we went to these V6s that are force-induced with twin turbos, and we're seeing a lot of issues with them. And it's proving a lot of the people right who said, hey, I don't want a truck that has all this complexity, and I just want a simple vehicle. Why Toyota couldn't have just hybridized the V8 to reduce emissions, I don't know. There's just so many laws in effect that forced Toyota's hand here. Toyota did not want to go twin turbo V6 or reduce the amount of cylinders. I'm sure Toyota wanted to keep the V8 around as long as possible because that's what customers want. I don't know how many customers were asking for twin turbo V6. We know Ford kind of got rid of the V8. Dodge got rid of the V8. The Chevy Silverado, I think, still has the V8. Totally unrelated, but it talks about the love of the V8. It's not just from Americans or just Toyota lovers, right? Mercedes admits defeat over at Motor One, reportedly drops 4-cylinder for V8 and the CLE 63 AMG. Report cites slow sales for the 4-cylinder hybrid AMG C63 in Europe as the main reason for the switch. What do you think the demand for the new Tundra would be if it had a V8 or a V8 hybrid instead of twin turbo V6 hybrid? I'm sure it would be better. And the reliability, in theory, would be better too. Senior officials at Mercedes report claims the CLE 63 will use a familiar 4-liter twin turbocharged V8 with a mild hybrid assist, making up to 585 horsepower. And if they go back to the V8, it'll have about 100 less horsepower than originally planned with the turbo 4-cylinder plug-in hybrid. People don't want all that junk and that complexity. And who needs 700 horsepower in an AMG? Okay, street car. People would rather have the smoothness and the simplicity of a V8. Well, there's not a lot of simplicity with the twin turbo V8, but I would much rather have a twin turbo V8 mild hybrid than an inline 4 turbocharged plug-in hybrid that's also heavier in theory because of the large battery pack. We know Toyota has a problem on their hand with the twin turbo V6 recall and the possibility of more recalls happening with that powertrain in other vehicles. But at least they didn't use, that we know of anyways, at least they're not getting sued by the government over child labor. That's what Hyundai is getting sued over right now. This is another, I guess, not a positive news piece like the Tundra recall, the V6 recall. So yeah, they were using childhood labor from a lot of immigrants. And it's just really, really sad. A 13-year-old, and it was not just happening at Hyundai, it was also happening at one of their subsidiaries, Smart Alabama LLC. The blame was also pushed to Best Practice Service LLC, which is a staffing firm, which were getting underage kids jobs working for Hyundai, working 60 hours a week, some as young as 12 years old. But yeah, it's pretty dark stuff, and you can't get away with that in the United States, at least not anymore. Back in the 1800s, you probably could with childhood labor. But I think that's also why there's a lot of outsourcing in other countries to build cars. Not saying Canada, they're probably cleaner than we are down here when it comes to staffing. But yeah, in Mexico, the law of the land is not as absolute as it is here in the United States. We always hear things coming out of China with labor issues. So it's unfortunate that it happened on our own soil, and Hyundai is caught red-handed here and is getting sued. Here's the thing. These kids are working 60 hours a week. Are they going to see a dime of this money that the United States is suing? Where does this money go? Right? It goes to a general fund, probably to line the politicians' pockets, or, to pay for things that the politicians want. Anyways, I don't want to get too political. It's just that they slap Hyundai's hand, and that's about it. And I don't even know how much they're getting sued for. So just wanted to put that in there. A much greater offense than dropping the V8 for Toyota and having production issues with that V6. But I gotta shut it down there, guys. Not a rosy video today, but long live the V8. And I just hope that this is the last of the recalls we see here with this force-induced twin-turbo V6. Catch you guys in the next one.